Two people, same city, same year, same starting salary. One of them, 20 years later, owns property, carries no debt, sleeps without anxiety, and works because he chooses to, not because he has to. The other earns more than he did a decade ago, yet somehow has less. More income, more stress, more confusion, more month at the end of the money. What happened between those two lives wasn't luck. It wasn't inheritance. It wasn't even intelligence. It was 10 decisions. 10 quiet, boring, almost invisible rules that one person followed and the other ignored. This video is about those rules. Let me be clear about what this video is and what it is not. This is not a video about getting rich fast. It is not a motivational speech designed to make you feel temporarily excited before you go back to doing exactly what you were doing before. It is not a list of hacks, side hustles, or investment strategies that promise to double your money in 6 months. What this video is a psychological breakdown of how ordinary people make financial decisions and how those decisions, compounded over years, either build a quiet, dignified form of wealth or slowly destroy the possibility of one. Money is not primarily a math problem. Most people understand that spending less than you earn is the correct behavior. Most people know that saving is important. Most people know that debt is dangerous. And yet most people still struggle financially. Why? Because money is a behavior problem first, a psychological problem second, and a math problem third. The rules in this video are not complex. When you hear them, some will feel almost insultingly simple. But that simplicity is the point. The reason most people never apply them is not that they don't understand them, it's because they underestimate them. The gap between knowing a rule and living a rule is exactly where wealth is created or destroyed. The 10 rules. Rule 1, spend on assets. Before you spend on aesthetics. Most people organize their money in a specific and destructive order. They pay their bills first, then they buy the things they want. Then, if anything is left, and there rarely is, they save it. This is the default system, and it is the reason most people never build wealth. The principle is simple. Your money should touch an asset before it touches a lifestyle expense, not after, before. An asset is anything that grows in value, generates income, or reduces a future financial burden. A savings account, an index fund, a business investment, even paying down high-interest debt counts, because eliminating a 15% interest rate is functionally equivalent to earning that same return on an investment. An aesthetic, by contrast, is anything that signals status or identity without building underlying value. A new car when the old one works, a designer item purchased to feel a certain way at a social event, a renovation done to impress guests rather than add structural value. This rule does not say you cannot spend on aesthetics. It says you cannot spend on aesthetics first. The sequence is the entire point. Most people get paid, and within 48 hours, the money disappears into a series of small, justified purchases. Taken together, they consume the entire paycheck. Savings becomes an afterthought, something that will happen next month, or when things calm down, or once I get that raise. The raise comes. Things do not calm down. Next month looks exactly like this month. The behavior that breaks this cycle is not willpower. It is sequence. Change the order in which your money moves, and you change the outcome. When your paycheck arrives, the first transfer should be automatic and non-negotiable to your investment account, your savings buffer, your debt repayment fund. Whatever is left, you live on. This is not deprivation. This is architecture. And architecture is far more powerful than motivation. Rule 2, never make a major financial decision under emotional pressure. The most expensive decisions most people ever make are not made with bad logic. They are made with perfectly good logic, applied at the wrong emotional moment. When you are anxious, you spend to self-soothe. When you're excited, you overcommit. When you're ashamed, you avoid looking at the numbers. When you're angry, you make impulsive changes. When you're happy, you feel invincible and underestimate risk. Every one of these emotional states produces a financial decision that feels completely rational in the moment and costs you dearly in the aftermath. Think about the triggers you've experienced. The moment you bought something expensive because you had a terrible week and felt you deserved it. The moment you agreed to a financial commitment swept up in the energy of an event. The moment you avoided a conversation about money because it triggered shame. None of those were random. All of them were predictable. All of them were expensive. Rule 2 is this. Create a mandatory pause between emotional state and financial action. When you feel the impulse to make a major purchase, sign a contract, or take on a new financial commitment, wait. Not forever. 48 hours is often enough. Let the emotional peak pass before the decision is made. This single rule, applied consistently, will save you more money than any investment strategy you will ever learn. Rule 3. Understand the difference between price and cost. These two words are used interchangeably, but they mean entirely different things when it comes to how money behaves over time. The price of something is the number on the tag. The cost is what it actually takes from you, in money, time, opportunity, and the future value of what you chose not to do with that money instead. A car that costs $30,000 and loses 12% of its value every year does not have a real cost of $30,000. When you factor in depreciation, insurance, maintenance, fuel, and the opportunity cost of what that money could have grown into if invested, the true cost is often 2 to 3 times the purchase price over 10 years. Most people evaluate every purchase by price. People who think about money differently evaluate every purchase by cost. And when you begin to see cost instead of price, your entire relationship with spending changes. A $40 gym membership might cost $40 per month. Its true cost, if it keeps you healthy and productive for 30 years, might be negative, meaning it saves you money in medical expenses over time. Meanwhile, a $10 subscription you forgot 3 years ago has a cost of $360, quietly extracted while delivering zero value. See cost, not price. This one shift in perception is worth more than most financial courses. Rule 4, protect your income before you grow it. Almost everyone focuses immediately on growth, on earning more, investing more, building more. Growth is exciting. Growth is visible. Growth feels like progress. But before growth comes protection, and most people skip this step entirely. Protection means ensuring your financial situation can survive the unexpected. It means having an emergency fund, not a token amount, but 3 to 6 months of genuine living expenses, sitting in a liquid, accessible account, not invested, not locked away, available. It means having the right insurance so that a single medical event, natural disaster, or unexpected liability cannot erase years of work in weeks. This is deeply unsexy financial advice. Emergency funds earn almost nothing. Insurance is money you spend hoping never to use it. None of this generates excitement. And yet, every single person who has ever built sustainable wealth built it on a foundation of protection first. Here is the mathematical truth most people never sit with. One major financial emergency, without protection in place, can set you back 3 to 5 years. A car transmission failure, a health issue that keeps you from working for 2 months, a roof that needs replacing. These are not rare events, they are ordinary life events. Without protection, each one is a financial crisis. Grow your money by all means, but protect it first. This is not caution, this is strategy. Rule 5, your social environment has a price tag. This is one of the most uncomfortable truths about personal finance, and it is almost never addressed directly. The people you spend the most time with are one of the most powerful forces shaping your financial behavior. Not because they give you advice, because human beings are deeply unconsciously social creatures, and we normalize whatever is normal in our immediate environment. If everyone in your social circle eats at expensive restaurants regularly, upgrades their car every 3 years, and takes international vacations twice a year, you will feel the gravitational pull to do the same. Not because you are weak, because you are human. Because the brain interprets social belonging as a survival mechanism, and it will spend money to maintain that belonging even when logic tells you not to. This is called social consumption in behavioral economics. It is one of the primary reasons that income increases rarely translate into savings increases. When income goes up, lifestyle goes up to match the new social level. The gap between earning and saving stays the same, or it widens. Rule 5 is not about abandoning your friends. It is about honest awareness. It is about asking yourself how much of your spending is driven by what you genuinely value, and how much is driven by the invisible pressure of what your environment treats as normal. Once you see that pressure clearly, it loses some of its power, and some is enough. Rule 6, automate the behavior. You want human willpower is not a reliable financial tool. This is not an insult to your character. It is a recognition of how the brain actually works. Willpower is depletable. It is strongest in the morning and weakest under stress, fatigue, and social pressure, precisely when most financial decisions are made. Automation is the solution to a willpower problem. When your savings transfer happens on the first of every month before you ever see the money, when your retirement contribution is deducted before your paycheck hits your account, when your debt repayment is scheduled without any action required from you, you have removed willpower from the equation entirely. You cannot spend money you never saw. You cannot fail to save money that was already moved before you could touch it. This is not a clever trick. It is behavioral architecture applied to your financial life. Equally important, remove friction from good decisions. If opening a savings account requires 17 steps, you will not do it on a bad day. If investing requires research and manual transfers, you will delay it indefinitely. The easier you make good behavior, the more often it happens. Not because you are more disciplined, but because you have made discipline unnecessary. Design your financial system so that the right thing happens by default, then protect it from yourself. Rule 7, debt has a personality. Learn to read it. Not all debt is the same, but most people treat debt as a single category, either something to avoid entirely or something to accept as a normal part of life. Neither position is sophisticated enough to serve you well. Some debt is patient and productive. It carries a low interest rate, finances something that grows in value or generates income, and costs you less than the return you receive. A carefully structured mortgage on a growing property, a business loan with a clear repayment path. This kind of debt, used correctly, is a tool. Other debt is predatory and silent. It carries a high interest rate, finances things that depreciate immediately, and grows faster than most people can pay it down. Credit card debt at 18 to 22%. Buy now, pay later schemes that normalize spending money you don't have. Consumer debt used to maintain a lifestyle rather than build one. This kind of debt doesn't just cost you money, it costs you future freedom. A claim on income you haven't earned yet, already spent. Before you take on any debt, know its personality. Ask 3 questions. What is the interest rate? Does the thing I'm financing grow in value or lose value? And what is the specific plan by which this debt ends? If you cannot answer all 3 clearly, you are not ready to take on that debt. Rule 8. Track the leak, not just the flow. Most people who struggle financially are not struggling because they don't earn enough. They are struggling because money flows out of their lives in dozens of small, untracked ways that individually feel insignificant, but collectively are devastating. This is the leak problem. Your financial situation is like a container with holes in it. You can pour more water in, earn more money, but if the holes are not sealed, the level never rises. Most people, when they decide to improve their finances, focus on the flow, on earning more. None of that is wrong, but if the leaks remain unsealed, increased income simply means increased spending. The container never fills. The leaks are usually invisible until you look for them. Subscriptions you forgot you had, daily habits that cost money but feel like almost nothing, the impulse lunch, the late-night app purchase, because each individual cost is small. Purchases driven by mild boredom or mild stress rather than genuine desire. Tracking is not about guilt. It is about information. Most people genuinely do not know where their money goes. When you see it clearly, patterns become obvious. And obvious patterns are actionable. Seal the leaks before you increase the flow. Both matter. But leaks matter more than most people realize. Rule 9. Your relationship with money reflects your relationship with yourself. This is the rule most financial videos will never address because it sounds too philosophical. But it is, in my view, the most important rule on this entire list. Your financial behavior is not random. It is driven by deeply held beliefs about what you deserve, what you're capable of, and what money means to you at an emotional level. If you grew up in a household where money was scarce, you may carry one of 2 patterns. Either extreme scarcity thinking, where you hoard money out of fear, even when fear is no longer warranted, or extreme avoidance, where you spend money the moment you have it because some part of you does not believe it will stay. If money was used as a tool of power or control in your environment, you may have complicated feelings about accumulating it. If your identity is built around generosity, you may consistently put your own financial stability last and frame that behavior as virtue rather than examining whether it is actually serving your life. None of these patterns are fixed, none are destiny, but none will change by learning a new budgeting technique or downloading a new finance app. They change through awareness, through honest examination of why you make the choices you make, not just what choices you make. The most powerful financial work you will ever do is internal, because your external financial life will always eventually mirror your internal financial beliefs. Always. Rule 10. Play long games with patient money. The final rule is perhaps the simplest to understand and the hardest to practice, because everything in modern life is designed to work against it. We live in a world of immediate gratification, same-day delivery, instant streaming, short-form content. The entire architecture of modern commerce is built to shrink your time horizon, to make you want things now, decide now, spend now. Wealth is built in the exact opposite direction. Wealth is built by people willing to be patient in a world that rewards impatience, boring in a world that celebrates excitement, and consistent in a world that glorifies the dramatic transformation. Most people have seen the chart showing a 25-year-old investing $500 a month growing into over $1 million by retirement. Most people nod, feel briefly impressed, and then go back to their lives without changing their behavior. Why? Because the 25-year-old cannot feel that $1 million. It lives 40 years in the future. And the brain, built for immediate threat and reward, cannot emotionally connect to a number that far away. So it chooses the immediate reward every single time. The discipline required to play a long game is not about suppressing desire. It is about building a genuine connection to your future self. Research in behavioral economics consistently shows that people who can vividly imagine their future selves make dramatically better financial decisions today. Your future self is a real person. They will live in the world your current decisions are building. They cannot come back and change the choices you're making right now. Only you can. Long games win, patient money grows. The world will always try to distract you from both. The rule is simple. Don't let it. 2 trajectories. 1 clear comparison, 2 financial paths starting from the same place. Person A earns $50,000 a year at age 28. They spend to their income level, carry moderate consumer debt, have no emergency fund, and invest occasionally when motivated. They are not reckless. They are simply operating on the default system. They think about money, often feel anxious about it frequently, and make significant changes only when a crisis forces them to. Person B earns the same $50,000 at the same age. They automate 20% of their income to savings and investment before it touches their checking account. They maintain 6 months of expenses in a protection fund. They track their spending every 2 weeks. Not obsessively, just consistently. They pause 48 hours before any significant purchase. They are not extreme. They are simply applying the 10 rules imperfectly but regularly. By 45, just 17 years later, person A is earning more than they did at 28, but has saved very little, carries significant debt, and remains 1 or 2 emergencies away from crisis. The anxiety about money has not decreased. In some ways, it has grown because the gap between where they are and where they feel they should be has become more painful and more visible. Person B at 45 has accumulated enough to have genuine options. They do not have to take a job they hate. They can absorb an emergency without catastrophe. They are not necessarily rich in a dramatic sense, but they are free. And freedom at 45, people imagined at 28. The difference between these 2 trajectories is not talent, not income, not luck. It is the 10 rules, consistently, quietly applied. Your projection. Do something right now while you are still watching this video. Project forward. If you continue on your current financial path, with your current spending patterns, your current savings rate, your current relationship with debt, where will you be in 10 years? Be honest. Not optimistic, not pessimistic, honest. Will you have more financial freedom or less? When an unexpected expense arrives, and it will you absorb it calmly or will it disrupt everything? Sit with that projection for a moment, not to feel bad, to see clearly. Now project forward again, but apply the 10 rules. Starting not in some hypothetical future when conditions are perfect, but now, this month, imperfectly, partially, inconsistently at first, but genuinely. In 6 months, your emergency fund begins to feel real. The anxiety around unexpected expenses softens. You experience, perhaps for the first time, the feeling of money going somewhere intentional rather than disappearing. In 2 years, your automated investments have grown to an amount you can see and feel. Not enormous yet, but yours, growing. And you are no longer the kind of person who worries about money the way you used to. In 10 years, the compound effect of consistent, patient, rule-based financial behavior has produced a version of your life that would have seemed almost unbelievable today. Not because it is dramatic, because it is quiet, stable, chosen. That version of your life is not a fantasy. It is a mathematical outcome. It is available to you. The only thing standing between where you are and where that version of you lives is not a secret, not a strategy, not an opportunity you haven't found yet. It is the 10 rules, applied, starting now. Here's the final truth I want to leave you with. Money, at its deepest level, is not about numbers. It is not about accounts or portfolios or interest rates. Those things matter, but they are not the core. At its deepest level, money is about options. The presence or absence of money in your life determines, more than almost anything else, the degree to which you get to choose. Your time, your environment, your relationships, your work, your response to crisis, your trajectory as a human being. People who do not manage money well do not simply have less money, they have fewer choices. They are more constrained, more vulnerable, more dependent on circumstances going well. That constraint is not just financial. It accumulates over years into a kind of heaviness, a sense that life is happening to you rather than being directed by you. People who manage money well, not perfectly, not aggressively, but consistently and intentionally, gradually accumulate something no one can see on a balance sheet. They accumulate room. Room to breathe, room to say no, room to wait for the right opportunity, room to recover when things go wrong, room to be generous without it threatening their security, room to build a life actually aligned with what they value. That room is what the 10 rules build, not wealth as a trophy, not money as an identity, just room. Quiet, dignified, hard-earned room. The rules are simple, the application is consistent, the results are patient, and the life on the other side of that patience is worth everything the process requires. Stop managing money by accident. Start managing it by design. The gap between those two approaches is exactly the distance between the two lives we talked about at the beginning of this video. You already know which one you want. The question was never about knowledge. It was always about what you decide to do next.